here's an example of our kind of design process when we got back, which is photo from the Carpathians. We've just done a treatment of it, repainted it for our film, and we've got about 48 separate scenes in our film, which I'll talk about a bit later. And what we've done is we've got like a master shot for each one, where we try to establish the atmosphere, the colour palette for the shot. But it means we've got a lot of really good reference footage, and we're not making it up, we're starting to get a reference, which is one of the things we bang on about.
Yeah, colour treatment for the shot, and also a kind of idea of framing that we've got in mind, so we know where we're heading before we start.
Okay, so there's some examples of some of the student work of concept artists. It's quite a strange film we're making, so there's all a very strange concept art. These are the musicians from a gypsy fair. So we've got, Alex mentioned about lots of courses, so we have worked with a fashion course as well. The beauty of film is for doing this sort of production, we've got a lot of different areas that cover our film, a lot of different courses, so from screenwriting to fashion design, that can be tapped into, so the students get to work collaboratively and we get to contribute various bits and bobs. So these are gypsy dancers. We've got a wolf, a bear, a spider, and some very strange looking gypsies that came from a very complex design process that took a long time, where we're combining flowers and First World War military uniforms, of which we'll later. So again, it's some more concept shots, kind of master shots from various scenes that we've got. Obviously, this is all very traditional film production process that we're doing for students. Storyboard's very important. Where we shot performance capture, motion capture, like we did for Avatar or Tintin, there were no cameras. There were cameras recording the actual body movement, but we weren't actually framing the shots. So we had to be very, very strict on storyboarding, because when we captured all our data, we needed to effectively have a very clear idea of what we were going to do with it, because there was nothing, there was no cameras, all we had was the performances. So this is our lead storyboard artist, Charlie Gordon-Off, who's now graduated, but still doing a bit of work for us.
He's also working for King Rollo Films now as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Working on this helped him get that job in industry as well, which is an important part of what we're doing.
So we've broken up all the scenes into shots and basically framing everything in a traditional storyboard way.
For those of you who just sat through the storyboarding and the importance of them, especially making CG, you've got to know where you're going to start, and the storyboards give you that all-important starting point. Otherwise, you just go blindly into a really heavy-duty production. You can just go round and round in circles, but by getting stuff sorted at the concept and the storyboard stage, you've got that starting point. Things still evolve quite heavily from that, and you might change ideas of framing and stuff like that, but it gives you that all-important starting point.
Another important thing about doing a totally computer-generated film is, obviously, unlike a real film, you can't react to anything. You can't react to the landscape or the lighting or a set. You have to build everything from scratch. There is no mountain, there's no grass, there's no clothing, there's no characters, there's no light. You have to make everything completely from scratch. So it's a preposterously ambitious undertaking, which has been pointed out many times, and we're well aware that the chance we won't finish it. So over to Alex. This is Foam Digital, why we made it.
Well, obviously, because we've got to make this film, so we need some kind of structure. It's all very well getting students involved, but we need some kind of structure. So we looked at our experiences in industry and thought, well, we'll just create a facility, a studio that's got the same department structure, the same disciplined areas, so we can get all of this complexity sort of brought to screen. So we came up with this idea of a studio that we would make. It's still name only, because obviously costing out and funding a studio and building a studio with computers, licenses, software, everything costs a vast amount of money. But luckily enough, our university is full of that stuff anyway. So all we do is we make a name, and then we use all the university facilities and our extremely cheap student workforce to make a production for us. And we can blag it off as education. Sorry, don't say that out loud. So we made Foam Digital. We came up with a brand for it, and it's important that the students feel like they're working with part of it, and it gives us that structure. So it's an animation studio that we've got within the university, the School of Creative Technologies, and it works exactly the same way as any other traditional VFX or animation house does. Again, it delivers the rich learning experience, but again, it's all important that what the industry does, we mirror it. They've proved the success that this methodology works for making film, but it also is exactly what our students need to learn when they're applying their skills. Because like I said, there's so much to learn in 3D animation, and there's modelling, there's texturing, there's lighting, there's all sorts. And you can't learn all of those skills. So you'll be able to, what this allows us to do, and I'll show you the next slide, is we've got different departments within that. And this allows the students and allows artists to be able to concentrate in specific areas that they know that they want to go into in the industry, because there's such a large amount of stuff that needs doing. So we've got these 12 kind of departments, but I think we've made more of them as we go along. We invent a department as soon as a job needs doing, but we kind of use this model. So we've got the production concept modelling, creatures, which is basically any living thing within the production. That'd be human characters that need modelling, animals, flora and fauna, visual effects. We've got like water simulations, cloth simulations, particles, dust, fire, smoke, grass waving in the wind. Everything like that has to be created from scratch and then simulated and created for this living world. There is no real footage, moving footage in our, well, we use map paintings in the background. And we can talk about that a little bit later on. Compositing, I'm not sure if all of you know aware what compositing is, but that's as we bring all of the different elements together. Instead of rendering it all through one camera viewport, you can render separate elements and even take stock footage and then composite the layers over to create the shots. We've got some breakdowns later on. It's alright, you're not going to have death by PowerPoint, I promise. We'll get this bit out of the way, and we've got lots of videos and kind of sort of stuff to show as well about how we've done all the different things. Cloth was one of we decided to make a whole department for that because it's digital cloth. Every piece of cloth in the film has to be made, put on our characters from their mocap data, and then simulated to look like realistic cloth. We didn't want these things breaking this illusion of reality of cloth not moving properly, so they're incredibly complicated sort of processes that we use. There's a mocap department. We shot, which I'll go through in a minute to show the video, we shot 5 weeks worth of motion capture data on stage, just hours upon hours upon hours. So we had a whole department just dedicated to sort of cleaning and processing all that motion capture data. Editorial is a massive job, picking up the rushes and the reference cameras from the shoots that we did, conforming segments together, lining up audio, lining up video, because we didn't have the money to have all this incredible equipment to kind of synchronise everything on set. We used a clapperboard, and that was our lineup. So someone has to sit there and take an audio spike and line it up later on. So editorial is a huge work, work. Animation, that's our biggest and busiest department. We got an awful lot of stuff through the motion capture, but we couldn't capture hand movements. Just the complexity of capturing hand movements. So we knew that down the line we were going to have to, all the hands were going to have to be animated by hand.
And also any character that's got more than 2 legs.
Yes,
we couldn't get all of the characters. And we're also, because behind donations of money from our university, we had enough money to employ one student who's graduated recently to come back and do some animation. Actually, we've probably got about 3 now total. So we are managing to employ students.
We are actually re-employing our students with money that we've got and getting them to, after they graduate, to sort of stay on and work with us. And that's always been this goal of fun digital, is we wanted it to be a working studio in the university that can employ external industry professionals, we can employ students as placements and internships, and we can kind of create this production with 1 foot in and 1 foot outside their sort of education. Audio as well, we've got a huge amount of kind of Foley and sound effect work, and also processing all the audio that we filmed on set, and making sure that that's in the editorial and fits in. So our resources, we've got no budget, and it sort of drives innovation. One of my favourite sayings is called necessity is the mother of all invention. So if you haven't got something, you've got to find a way of doing it. So that's one of the things that's been really cool in this, is getting the students involved in it and us. Just coming up with solutions on the fly to things, be they technical solutions, or we need a bit more extra gaffer tape on that so it doesn't fall apart during the mocap shoot. From that whole range, which has been a sort of great thing about doing this. We've got, like Paul said, we've got a huge range of degree courses that we can use to kind of feed all these different departments that we've got. We've got a well-developed facial animation, and we'll show some of the stuff and how we did all of that later on, that Paul had developed as an animator that we could bring in and use to animate and bring our characters' faces to life. So we knew we had that kind of difficult technical aspect worked out in advance. Well, an industry experienced animator. One of our big resources that we've got. We've got a motion capture studio, which I run, so we knew we could use that straight away. Our own facial camera rig. The ones that are out there, these camera rigs you see Andy Serkis wearing in Dawn of the Planet Apes, they're £30,000–40,000 a pop. We didn't have budget on that. How much did yours cost?
30 quid each. But I had to wear aluminium rods around my head for like about a week in my shed.
Yeah, and probably not as comfortable. Some of the actors were kind of were complaining of bad headaches after about an hour when we were filming. But that's just the
We did go back and redesign them a bit after that.
Yeah, we did bend the aluminium out a little bit.
We ended up using
Velcro.
I tried to find some decent adjustable straps online, and in the end I found there's a whole form of weightlifting which involves using just your head. So I wouldn't imagine it's possible where you put it on and you couldn't do that. But it was actually perfectly adjustable Velcro cheap straps, so we just bought a bunch of those, cut off the weights, obviously you didn't need them, and then hand sewed in all the aluminium around the edge, and then used webcams on the end and just cut off the end part and then screwed them on. Drill some small holes, and then we had USB cables going out the back with little microphones as well. So we had a kind of umbilical that you'll see on all the characters in the webcam shoot. And it was worked fine because it gave us a very good facial reference that we can show you later on.
And that's a fun process part of it is kind of coming up with all these solutions to stuff like that. It can take the time out. One of the things we've always had is good industry connections from Paul's mind past in the industry and the kind of collaborations we do when we talk to industry an awful lot about the stuff that we teach in mocap. So we knew we could kind of get help and support from people out there and try and blag that for free as well. Sponsorship, which was one thing we knew we had to get, and support, because software is quite easy to give for free. It's just, oh, there you go, you can run it, we won't charge you for it. Support is the hardest thing. People cost money. People cost an awful lot of money. And that's been the hardest thing to get is people time in the project. It's very difficult to blag that for free. You have to give people some money, or at least travel expenses, to come down and work on something. But you can negotiate and get people to do things for literally nothing. We're back into the university. There are some smaller investment funds within the university, so we knew we were going to have to learn to do our bids and work this process. We've never done any of this before, so we had to go through this whole process of learning how to work the educational aspect in. But that's just one of the things you have to do. You find a funding route and you figure out you're going to go for it, and you work out how the form works out. You write what you have to. We've written so many different types of bidding forms to universities, to external fundings. You get good at it when you have to get good at it. And it's just one of the processes that you learn. Again, we've got a lot of very keen and capable students. It's been fun managing the students sometimes. The management side can take over the production side when you've got such a big workforce and trying to keep it going. So once we brought all this together, we decided that was it, we were ready, we'd done rehearsals, we'd got a screenplay, it was time to sort of build a motion capture stage.